Major funding for these programs is made possible by grants from Capital One Bank, New York Community Bank, Eastern Consolidated, M&T Bank, Customers Bank, Meridian Capital Group, Terra CRG, the Wickoff Group, Perfect Building Maintenance, Chase Commercial Term Lending, Chase Commercial Mortgage Lending, Genova Burns. Additional support is made possible by AKA Hotels, Corman Communities, AmTrust Title, Aerial Property Advisors, AVR Realty Company, Bank of America Merrill Lynch, Bank Leumi USA, Briarwood Organization, CBRE, Citizens Bank, Connect One Bank, Colliers International NYC, Collins Building Services, CPEX Real Estate Services, Dime Savings Bank of Williamsburg, Douglaston Development, Levine Builders, Fisher Brothers, Flushing Bank, Friedman, LLP, Hendler Real Estate Organization, Hersha Hospitality, HAP, Investment Developers, Hodges Ward Elliott, Inc., Investors Bank, iFunding, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Center at Syracuse University, Kilroy Architectural Windows, Madison Realty Capital, Matone Group, Mercantile Commerce Bank, New Banks, Newmark Grubb Knight Frank, Optimum Window Manufacturing Corp., People's United Bank, Pulcinelli, Rosewood Realty Services, SJP Properties, Sterling National Bank, Stonehenge Partners, TD Bank, The Continuum Company, the Knackle Group at Cushman and Wakefield, the Meringoff Family Foundation, the Moynihan Group, and these friends.
Cranes, that's all we see is cranes all over the city, in New Jersey, in Long Island. So today I've brought together developers who are using these cranes, or I don't know if they use cranes in Long Island, today to discuss the state of the residential market in New York, New Jersey, and Long Island. My guests today include Alan Goldman, who's the president of SJP Properties, Laurent Morali, who is the president of the Kushner Companies. From Long Island, Mike Kelly, did you need a passport today to come in? Principal of Kelly Development, and last but not least, Francis Greenburger, who is the chairman and CEO of Time Equilities. I know I have two gentlemen over here who have been in development for at least 40 years over there. How difficult is it to develop today in New York and in the region, Mr. Goldman and Mr. Greenburger?
It's gotten increasingly difficult. Certainly cost factors, starting with land, construction costs, regulatory costs have all been additive. Insurance costs, virtually every element of the development budget has grown, and it just becomes an increased burden that ultimately is passed on to whether it's the renter or the buyer in terms of higher costs. So it's certainly become increasingly difficult.
Francis?
Well, I think it's a confluence. We have the cost side that Alan was talking about, which is clearly escalated, and of course nothing has escalated more than land, which always follows retail pricing. But that goes hand in hand with pricing, which is a function of supply. So typically what happens is you have some success, a lot of people rush in, land prices go up, costs go up because the contractors are very busy, and then you have a lot of supply, but then there's pressure on price coming down. And that's the convergence that characterizes
with regard
the
to
current
that today, are we seeing a convergence of pricing going down?
Well, I think we're seeing a perception on the marketplace that it should be coming down. And there are probably some concessions being made. I don't think they're as dramatic as some media would suggest.
I don't think land prices yet, sellers have yet recognized the changing market, and sellers always think back, well, so-and-so got this last year, I should get at least that. And it takes normally a period of time, whether it's a year, 2 years, 3 years, and depends upon whether or not there is a need to sell. But at this moment, we haven't yet seen the dramatic declines in land that might be reflective of what's happening in the marketplace.
You and Francis, and I alluded at the beginning, there is a lot of supply coming online. I mean, you have Jersey City right now. How many units are coming online?
We have approximately 500 rental apartments coming online in a month.
And how many units are coming online in general in Jersey City today?
It's
10,000?
10,000, yeah. 10,000 apartments. We look at it as, Jersey City, it's a bedroom community for New York City. There is a real demand for affordable, cheaper alternative to the other boroughs. And you have a real price differential. So I think we're very aware.
We could go to Fort Lee, brand new apartment right next to the bridge. You get a bus, a Mercedes van that could take you to 178th Street stop. Fort Lee has that opportunity, and it's less expensive than Manhattan.
Well, I think in Jersey City you have a bigger environment, bigger culture, and also you have the path. Okay, the path from Journal Square to Wall Street is 9 minutes. From Fort Lee to Wall Street, I think, is a little longer than that.
But it's a different market. And it's servicing a different part of the metropolitan area. We have a lot of people who both work in New Jersey, but also many who have worked in New York, have relocated.
But you know what? They're both waterfront. They're both convenient in different aspects to New York City. Okay, for someone who's working in Lower Manhattan, Jersey City is a great alternative. There's no question. There's great development over there. Now I'll phase that a little different, then get to Francis's development. We talk about Mike. Mike is in the place where it takes more time to get something approved and developed than it did for the creation of the Earth.
Pretty close.
Okay. What are you doing today in in Long Island?
Long Island right now, we're just finishing up a condo community that we started in 2012, which was 163 condominium units in the village of Patchogue. Through that 4-year period, we've been working on entitlements for the piece of property that we haven't sold.
Let's talk about Patchogue. I mean, because Patchogue, it's a question of, Patchogue was an area that had urban needs, okay? That would be a nice way to say it.
Yeah.
And Patchogue redevelopment has been a major
That's
effect.
that's pretty much the formula that a lot of the smaller municipalities and villages are trying to follow, is what the mayor of Patchogue Village created. And he had two things that went for him. One, he had a sewer system, because on Long Island, without a sewer, we're not getting any density. And two, he had political courage to stand up and say, at one point in time, Patchogue Village was the wealthiest village in the state back in the early 1900s, and he's bringing it back. He's bringing it back to that historical importance that was back then, and he's done a great job with it.
The opportunities of ownership of a home in Patchogue, and then you're also now doing the other one on the former golf course, right?
It was a driving range in Selden. Double-decker driving range, yeah. Product-wise, it's very similar product. In Patchogue, we have a high water table, so we weren't able to put in basements. We had a tight and constrained site, so we weren't able to add garages. So we're going to take that footprint and that product type and bring it to Selden, but add garages and basements.
But here's my question. The biggest problem that Long Island has, as opposed to New Jersey and New York City, is how to attract younger millenniums, people to stay out there,
right.
Okay, and also to have them, like Laurent just said, transportation. How do you get people to workforce housing?
So for the longest time, Long Island struggled with a brain drain, right? This millennial, they just couldn't keep up with the costs. There's no product whatsoever in terms of rentals. I think traditionally Suffolk County has maybe a 17% rental stock over the past 20 years. That's still creeping up very, very slowly. So you look at the cost of rents versus the cost of home ownership, especially in this low interest rate environment, you're better off to own a condominium, maintenance free. And
So how much is the price for condominium?
We're pricing from $290,000 to $410,000 for a 2-bedroom to 3-bedroom unit.
Could you do that?
That seems very attractive.
Yeah, yeah. And some of those features are brand new construction. You can choose your own flooring. You can choose your own cabinets. You know, you look at the resales on Long Island now. We average at $350,000, but that's a 40 to 60-year-old home. You're going to need another $150,000 to update that floor
So
plan.
here's a question. I have 3 developers over here. And as I've said numerous times in the history of my show, developers, it's in their DNA to build. You know, Alan, over his career, has been in a variety of different markets that were before its time. I mean, you were Jersey City before Jersey City was Jersey City. Okay, Francis has been through all sections of New York and around the country, but I'm saying specifically over here. When you hear a Mike Kelly talking about this, and you hear the opportunities of opportunities, and people will buy these homes because it's a great situation. Do you think of that type of growth for you?
You know, we developed one building in Long Island in Freeport, of all places, and it's a small building. Ironically, when it came time to rent it, we were going to rent it. It was hard to get the price point we had in mind, so we changed our plan and went condo, and we did have a satisfactory sellout. But it's I find Long Island politics very challenging.
Let's talk about 50 West Street. I mean, this is a luxury, fantastic building downtown. And how many years has this been on the planning and everything?
Well,
15?
almost, yeah. And had a false start in 2008, as a lot of buildings around New York had a false start. We started, but then we stopped, fortunately, in time. Development, particularly in and around New York, and particularly major projects, is a long-term sport. It's not short-term. It's not for the faint of heart. I remember we were a finalist on the Queens West site that Rock Rose ended up buying, and I went out there with the Roses because they were friends. And he looked at me and said, "This isn't a project. This is a career." And, that's part of the business.
Lower Manhattan today. The Alliance for Downtown New York, and I think the city planning, a couple of people just came out with the number of people who are living and working today over there.
47,000 up from
22. It's the question of if they build it, they will come?
Well, it's more than if they will build it. If you build it, they will come. A lot of the memorial site, 9/11, the redevelopment, I think it's close to the biggest development project in the world. And it's been done on the highest possible quality. You've been there. It's absolutely extraordinary. It's probably one of the best examples of government planning that I can recall. The transformation of West Street from a highway to a grand boulevard is extraordinary, which Brookfield has responded to, and they spent $250 million moving their door from one side of the building to the other because they realized that facing Battery Park was facing the wrong way. It's like Gracie Mansion, where they used to come in by boat, and then they had to move the door to the other side when they come by car. Anyway, you go down there, I had hopes, obviously, but I have to say the reality, what's transpired, is transformative beyond my dreams. And certainly the world is responding, and I think it's a unique environment. Where are you going to get sailing lessons in Manhattan? Battery Park. Where are the most wonderful children's parks in New York? Nice places in Central Park, but my kids all go to play on Battery Park, even though I live in the middle of the
But there are nice
village.
parks in Williamsburg where you're not far from 184
Battery
Kent.
Park is extraordinary.
Yeah, I agree. Battery Park is great. 184 Kent, since you talked about it, is it's a little easier because it's not ground up construction. So I think you eliminate some of the uncertainty when you start ground up construction. It's hard to know what part of the cycle you'll be in when your building is finished, is completed. Here we have an existing building, Great Bones, and we just refurbishing it a little bit. So glad to report we started selling and it's going well.
Now, where else are you developing today?
So besides 184 Kent, we're developing a lot in Jersey City. On Jones Square specifically, we have about 2.2 million square feet of ground-up development, mixed use, which we're about to start somewhat towards the end of this year. And then we're on contract, as you know, to buy 85J, which is a big development site in Dumbo, which we're buying from the Jehovah's Witnesses. It's about 1.2 million gross square feet of development, which we also intend to do mixed use, mostly rentals, some condos, and retail.
And Alan, you decided that you didn't want to be too far from Central Park. That's why you like Amsterdam Avenue?
Yeah, we found a unique site right near Lincoln Center, 69th Street, and we're developing a 51-story condominium building at reasonably priced luxury, because that's a number we're going to talk about.
We're going to ask about what's reasonably priced luxury afterwards.
But we're developing 112 condominium units in a 51-story building on that site. And of course, we believe the location at the nexus of the Upper West Side, Lincoln Center, really in Central Park creates just the perfect location, because at the end of the day, particularly for buyers, location is a critical component. You want a great product, and you certainly want a great location.
So here's the question. He's talking about affordable luxury. What is the price?
Reasonably priced.
Reasonably priced luxury. Your building at 50 West is luxury.
Correct.
What is the price pound per foot? In a range, I'm not asking.
Well, I would say right now the average is $2,300 to $2,400 a foot.
And what do you project on yours? Is it similar?
We're projecting about a $3,000 average, with a starting number in the low to mid twos and rising from there. So we believe we can capture the market that's still very strong, will remain strong. I think much that the press likes to write about is the demise of the $8,000 a square foot market, which certainly has some validity. But the strength of the market still exists, notwithstanding some of the comments that...
The question that people say is, foreign investment is coming here and they're buying the apartments. You've sold 65% of the units at 50 West. Where are those people from?
25% of the 65 seem to have a Chinese name. I would say 90% of them have a New York City address. So I don't know whether they happen to be people who...
But that's 90% of the 25%.
Of the 25%.
And what about the 75%?
The balance, I would say, maybe another 10% are international of some sort, and the rest are New Yorkers. They're moving from the Upper West Side, they're moving from the Upper East Side, broad variety. Some of them are moving from Battery Park because they want larger, more luxurious apartments.
Now, I know specifically that at Extel's building on Riverside, because I had inspected it for a bank on a loan, and I walked through the building, and I had asked the resident manager, this is the building on 63rd, and
Yeah.
that 85 to 90% of that were Chinese. That building was specifically Chinese, and you could also tell because that community, the retail, was geared to the Asian community over there. But I think, as what Francis said, and I think what you see even in Fort Lee, and what you'll have more community people, especially the Upper West Side. People want to be at the Upper West Side.
There's no question.
There's a total lack of.
Yeah, there's a dearth of product. People want to upgrade. People don't necessarily want to buy old and renovate. And the opportunity to take advantage of product when there is a dearth of product attracts local people. Look, there's still money. Obviously, financing costs are very low.
Which is
They
what Mike
continue
was
to be
saying
low.
about.
There's no question. Another thing that hasn't been talked about is the transfer of wealth. There's a huge amount of money that's going to be coming from baby boomers that are going to.
Are you alluding that the three of us are baby boomers?
Our sons, our daughters, our grandchildren are going to be beneficiaries, and that wealth, to a significant extent, will be used to acquire real estate, families that want to have homes. That hasn't been talked as much, but certainly that, low financing costs, and the economy in general is relatively strong. So when people talk about a collapsing market, again, I think it's the press loves to be able to take advantage.
I think
of
there's some
something.
important statistics that you might, when we talk, the media says one thing, but there was a report in The Real Deal recently that I think there were 5,500 units sold in the most recent quarter compared with 5,200 units sold a year ago at the same quarter. So quarter to quarter, the number of units is up. Price of the average unit is up dramatically from $1,300 to $1,700 a foot. So those metrics don't suggest a collapsing market. There is I think one of the things that's occurring is there are a lot of announcements going on of new projects, so people get the feeling that there's a great inventory backlog. And that's another important factor that this article highlighted. 38% of the projects that were announced a year ago have been discontinued. Because what happens is a lot of development is not something for everybody who can do. It takes an enormous balance sheet. My experience with banks, and I can imagine that Alan's is the same, they're very, very particular of who they give their money to.
Laurent's a former banker, so we won't hold it against him.
They're very careful. The go-go days, there may be an occasional looser checkbook in town, but serious banks are not loose, in my experience. And we deal with all of them.
Speaking of banks, you're in the suburbs, okay? You're not in the market. We're talking $1,300, $1,700. You're talking about $400 a foot, $500 a foot.
Less than that.
Who are the banks interested in the suburbs to lend on your type of property?
Yeah, smaller local banks, in particular Bridgehampton National Bank has been somewhat a player. We've used them on our Patchogue site. Very, very good pricing, great customer service, really a community bank. They have a branch within the village. So they're really committed to their marketplace.
A big question, in New York City has been the affordability component. I want to address that, but I want you to bring out the Long Island Housing Partnership where 20%, there's an affordability component also.
Right. Typically, to connect to a county sewer facility, your project would have to have 20% of your inventory as workforce housing, which is priced at 120% of median and less. Towns will give you incentives for an increase of workforce housing. It gets very, very tricky because the price points have to stay separate enough from your market rate units, and
they could be rather close.
Be very, very close. And where's the incentive then for a workforce buyer to buy something cheaper but have resale restrictions and the qualifying hurdles? So Gets very tricky.
Francis was one of the developers, or we say the inspiration on the co-op market. You're condoing today, 184. Condo market today, and your condo market of conversions. Your thoughts?
Well, as we were talking earlier, I think leather costs more than shoes. So the ability to buy unconverted inventory and convert it is very small. I mean, we have one or two that we're doing. We one in South Slope, Brooklyn, and we another one out at Avenue P and Ocean Parkway. But it's rare. It's an unusual circumstance, and right now the investment markets are so hungry that they're pricing above the retail market.
That's right.
Speaking of that, you were a number of years ago on Schermerhorn Street. Let's
Yes, we
talk
were.
about what happened with townhouses that nobody thought could sell on Schermerhorn Street.
Well, as you know, initially we built 14 standalone townhouses. I mean, they were next to each other, but they were one family. And we put the daring pricing of it at the time of $2,300. I think that was for $2.3 million for a 3,400 square foot unit, which at the time was higher than other Brooklyn brownstones were pricing at. And we sold out before we were finished. When we then developed another 9 or 10, I can't remember, and we ended up selling those at $3.5 million each. So it showed that there was a big demand for well-designed, well-built townhouses, and then we ended up owning the whole square block, and the rest of it got developed in a multi-fashion.
So let's talk about, as I said, there are developers who are looking around. You have something in the Gowanus eventually that you'll work on when you get it rezoned. Downtown Brooklyn is like Jersey City in the number of new units coming on market. What's your thoughts about downtown Brooklyn?
There may be an imbalance for some period of time to absorb what is a particularly large surge of product coming on in the next 18 months. Long term, it'll be absorbed, as exists in many markets where, as Francis said, development is a game not for day traders. It's something that takes years and years, and you make commitments, and markets change. People take advantage of different opportunities simultaneously, and so while Brooklyn in the next 18 months, as I said, could face some issues in terms of the velocity of rent up, over the long term, I'm sure it'll do fine.
Newark, is it an opportunity? Alan? I mean, SJP Properties has been heavily involved in the office market.
Yes, we've done very well, and I think that will help it will function as a catalyst for the longer term development or redevelopment in Newark.
I know there's some opportunities around the Red Bull Stadium in Harrison, which I view as a slightly different market of Newark, but that is interesting. Newark proper, I'm not super familiar with.
Francis, any thoughts about New Jersey?
I worked on a big project there in the mid-'80s, which we ultimately sold to Hartz Mountain. I haven't been back since. Nothing against Newark, but I'm not up to date on it.
So if I had to look at my crystal apple, things are not that blighted. So it could be shiny, take a little while to absorb the inventory. But you know what? With 8.5 million people coming to New York, with people still wanting to work in Long Island and have affordable housing, I think that the press and the naysayers may be wrong. And I'd like to thank Alan, Laurent, Mike, Francis. I'll see you next week.